A few years ago, on a sunny Sunday, I was strolling through my neighborhood, which was still new to me. The houses had been recently built, and about 50 families, including mine, had moved in over the last few months. That morning, as I explored, I came across a group of Girl Scouts selling homemade waffles door to door. They approached me and, with enthusiasm, tried to convince me to buy some. Without money at the moment, I invited them to follow me home. During the walk, we talked, and they shared that sales were slow. Moved by the community spirit, I decided to buy all the waffles, more than 100, if I remember correctly, costing between 60 to 70 euros. The girls left beaming with joy. With the waffles in hand, I had an idea. Why not hold an impromptu event for the neighbors? I opened my garage, set up a plastic table, and prepared my waffle maker. I laid out various sugars and syrups and sent a message in the neighborhood Facebook group, inviting everyone for free waffles. Some families were interested, and soon a small crowd formed. It was a moment of relaxation and integration, where we enjoyed warm waffles and made new friendships. However, the harmony was interrupted by a hurried woman with a stern face. She had never appeared at our previous gatherings and, with an imposing stance, questioned what was happening. I explained the situation and, despite her intensity, offered her a waffle as well. But she wanted more, demanding to take 20 waffles at once. I usually avoid confrontations, but, supported by the disapproving looks of the neighbors, I refused. I said I could prepare 1 or 2 for her, but I would not distribute so many to a stranger. She raised her voice, indignant, questioning why she was the only one being denied waffles. A neighbor intervened, explaining the good intentions of the event and even apologizing for having bought all the waffles from the Girl Scouts. I offered that she could buy some, since I still had many, but she insisted on getting them for free. Despite our efforts to dialogue and explain the purpose of the gathering, she remained inflexible. Eventually, the neighbors moved her away from the group, ending the discussion that was leading nowhere. She left in a fury, disturbing the harmony of the moment. However, I chose not to dwell on the incident. With the arrival of more families, the atmosphere soon turned into a celebration of unity. The revelation surprised most, while some, already familiar with her, showed less astonishment. About 45 minutes to an hour later, 2 children, friends of the fairies, appeared and enjoyed some waffles left by the majority. I was distracted, drinking with some friends who stayed nearby. There were still waffles left when the children asked if they could take some home. I promptly replied, "Of course, why not?" With beaming smiles, they ran towards a lady in the distance. Yes, it was the irate Karen, and yes, they were her children. She made an obscene gesture in front of the children and shouted something unintelligible before walking away. We had to digest what had happened. The irate Karen is a well-known figure in our neighborhood. Living a few streets away, she works as a caregiver in a nursing home and is a real calamity. She usually discards her trash in other people's bins to save on collection fees, blocks sidewalks, and has been accused of stealing packages. Moreover, she is known for calling the police for any reason and for mistreating neighborhood cats. The list of her exploits is long. Her children, however, are lovely, which is surprising. Since the waffle incident, fortunately, I have not seen her again. This Karen is an eccentric character. She showed up at an impromptu event and tried to take all the waffles, like a caricatured villain from Batman, who arrives at a place and asks for 20 waffles. She clearly does not know how to read the room. I am relieved that the original poster did not give in to the demands of this unhinged Karen. It is disgusting that she uses her children for her schemes. Overall, it seems that this individual has a strange, unbalanced, and intrusive neighbor. I hope she never appears again to disturb his peace. It's peculiar that my parents have installed security cameras all over the house. I don't believe there are cameras in my room, but they threaten to install more if I misbehave. Although I know they are not serious, the presence of cameras in the living room, hallway, around the stairs, and in some corners of the upper floor, near my bedroom, is unsettling. My parents claim that the cameras are for security, as they fear possible intruders. They assure me that they do not have the time or inclination to monitor my activities, but this does not reassure me. I already feel suffocated by the numerous rules they impose on me, and at 18 years old, I value my privacy. The presence of cameras at home makes me extremely uncomfortable. My parents get annoyed when I express my concern, as they do not understand my discomfort. My mother argues that if there are cameras at school and in malls, I should not be bothered by those at home. My father becomes furious when I express my discontent, as he thinks I am insinuating that he is a bad person. Having cameras at home is something that deeply disturbs me. Camera monitoring is a delicate situation. I know people who install external cameras at their homes to monitor the surroundings. Others prefer internal cameras, either to watch their pets or to keep a close eye on their belongings, especially if the neighborhood is somewhat insecure. However, it's rare to find someone with so many cameras, especially when they all seem to focus on a child's room. This sends an implicit message of distrust from the parents towards their daughter. If she wants more autonomy, perhaps she could negotiate access to the cameras for security reasons. Imagine being alone at home, hearing suspicious noises at night. Naturally, you would want to check what's happening. Usually, these surveillance systems have apps that allow remote monitoring. It's understandable that the young woman feels uncomfortable with this excessive surveillance, and it's a shame her parents don't show more understanding. Airport conflict in September 2021. I experienced a tense situation. My family and I had been planning a trip to Mexico for 6 months to visit relatives. On the day of departure, while waiting at the boarding gate, my daughter was playing on her Nintendo Switch. A child approached and began to watch. Everything was calm until she tried to take the console, claiming that my daughter didn't know how to play. My daughter, only 4 years old, was still learning to handle it, while the other child was between 8 or 9 years old. I intervened promptly, explaining that the device did not belong to her. I thought the incident was resolved, but 10 minutes later, the child's parents appeared. The mother, in an aggressive manner, accused me of assaulting her son and demanded that I return what I had stolen. I remained calm, protecting my daughter, while the woman continued to call for security. The police arrived, and she presented her version of the events. When it was my turn to speak, I made it clear that her allegations were false. The woman, furious, insisted on her narrative, and her son began to cry, saying he was afraid of me. The argument went on, with her demanding that I hand over my daughter's console to her son, whom she claimed I had stolen. I was taken to a separate room until the security cameras confirmed the truth of the events. I was right, as confirmed by others, and with that, I decided to file a complaint against a woman who was harassing me, as well as my daughter, and threatening us. After the situation calmed down, she was removed from the airport. She did not hide her dissatisfaction, displaying a fury worthy of a Karen as she was escorted out. Meanwhile, I was on board the plane, ready to take off for Mexico. It's unbelievable to think that this woman tried, so blatantly, to steal someone's child. An 8-year-old child tried to take a Nintendo Switch from a 4-year-old, and the mother tried to justify the act as if it were legitimate. Everything seemed very well orchestrated, and I wouldn't be surprised if the woman was encouraging her son to commit such thefts. Fortunately, justice prevailed, and the Karen got what she deserved. My boyfriend broke up with me because I have male friends. We had been together for 8 months, and everything seemed wonderful. I believed we had a relationship based on trust. Everything changed this month. After an intense argument and a brief separation, when we reconnected, he demanded to check my phone to ensure that I wasn't talking to anyone else. The pause in our relationship was short, and I had no intention of looking for someone else, as I still deeply loved him. I'm not the type to quickly get over a relationship. I explained that I didn't want him to go through my phone, as it would make me extremely uncomfortable. He insisted, claiming that it shouldn't be a problem if I had nothing to hide. I relented and showed him my social media to prove my fidelity. However, he snatched the phone from my hands and started a big argument. He interpreted my facial expression as a sign of guilt, when in fact, I was just upset that he had taken my phone and didn't trust me after 8 months of a relationship. I had nothing to hide. It was his attitude that caused me such discomfort. A few weeks have passed, and he is still hurt by the incident. He blocked my phone and all my social media accounts for at least a week, promising to unblock them when he saw change in me. This change involved deleting all the men from my social networks, as he wanted to be the only man in my life. This included one of my best friends, whom I've known for years and with whom I attend college. I never imagined that our friendship would be a problem. He is not heterosexual and has never shown romantic interest in me, and the feeling is mutual. I told my boyfriend that although I loved him and valued our relationship, I could not accept his request to cut all the men out of my life and isolate me from one of my best friends. It's a demand that I simply cannot fulfill, especially since he has female friends himself. He insisted on how I was choosing a friend over him. He hoped those guys were worth it, claiming I would never find someone who treated me as well as he did. He said he couldn't be with someone like me, and then he broke up with me. Now, I'm lost, not knowing what to do or feel. Honestly, this woman got rid of a big problem. This man's attempt to isolate her from other men in her life is absurd. How insecure can someone be? If she were actively looking for and talking to other men, he would have reasons to suspect. But to assume she is not loyal just because she has male friends on social media is a level of insecurity I haven't seen in a long time. The problem is his, not hers. She did nothing wrong. He is not someone she wants in her life. His behavior is abusive and tends to get worse. She deserves much better and narrowly escape. My boyfriend won't stop talking like an Elden Ring character, and it's driving me crazy. We've been together for 3.5 years and living together for 2. Our relationship has always been great. I love him very much and don't want anyone else. I'm not a fan of video games, but I like to watch him play. Lately, he only plays Elden Ring, and he loves it. I'm glad he's having fun, but he's taking it too far. For 3 weeks, he's been talking like the characters in the game, with a strange accent and being vague. I've tried talking to him about it, but he just laughs and continues. I don't know what to think. It seems like he does it just to annoy me. I don't want to break up with him, but I'll go crazy if this continues. Should I wait for him to stop? I think so, but it bothers me that he does this to me. I understand the addiction to Elden Ring, but I also understand her frustration with her boyfriend's behavior. I don't blame her for asking him to stop. Ending it over this seems extreme, but an honest conversation might help. My new puppy is affecting my relationship. After moving in with my girlfriend last year, she wanted a dog. No rescue, no baggage, not mixed breed. She wanted a puppy. Last week, she got an 11-week-old border collie. Since then, she's regretted it and wants to return it. I believe she has yet to realize that puppies have their mischief. Barking, nibbling, and even whining. They scratch, emit odors, and are entirely dependent on us. Last week, I dedicated myself to researching puppies while she opted to learn and practice. I went out, bought everything necessary, and took days off work to help our little one adapt to the new home. My girlfriend hates that I divide my attention between her and the dog, and this has been a cause of discord between us. My time has been scarce because, while she works, I stay at home, socializing, training, and taking care of our puppy. Unfortunately, I have witnessed attitudes from her that seemed abusive. She even woke the puppy up with screams so that he would sleep at night and not bother us with noise. She even threatened to leave him in the transport box to sleep outdoors. Today, I returned after a few minutes away and found the puppy whimpering. We were cleaning, so we put him in the box just to keep him quiet while we finished our tasks. My girlfriend claims that we are all suffering too much and suggested that we let the dog cry. She shows no interest in training him, often yells, and disagrees with the importance of socialization. I am doing my utmost to solve the problems here, but I am beginning to question whether it is worth continuing to try. It seems she wants a cute and perfect dog without any effort, like someone who wants to have children without dealing with dirty diapers, vomit, or taking them to school. But that's not how it works. Challenges come with puppies, even when they are young. You need to clean up their messes and train them properly. In this case, it seems I am the only one who understands what it really means to have a new dog at home. My girlfriend's attitude has been revealing and concerning. Therefore, if I want to save our relationship, it may be necessary to reassess the dog's stay, which is a pity. As for my financial situation, in 2015, when I was 18 years old and about to live on my own, my parents emptied my savings account. For almost 3 years, I saved every penny I could: birthday money, odd jobs, part-time work after school, washing dishes, altogether a few thousand. I longed for independence, as my two younger siblings left me exasperated, and my parents always used me as a babysitter. That's why I worked as much as I could, using it as an excuse to avoid staying at home. When I finally decided to move out, my parents wanted me to stay, claiming they needed my help and that I should start paying rent to contribute to the expenses. But I was determined to live on my own. I had already paid the deposit and the first month's rent for an apartment without their knowledge. With a full-time job secured, I was ready for the move. When they found out, it was a shock. They lost their reason and instructed me to leave home that very day. If my wish was to be alone, so be it. I quickly organized my things and headed to my aunt and uncle's residence. I pedaled for 6 kilometers, dragging a small trailer, until I reached my destination. Upon recounting what had happened, my aunt and uncle were outraged and promptly welcomed me into their home. Days later, when trying to withdraw money from the bank, I discovered that my account was empty. My parents had emptied my savings the day before. The bank, unable to do more, only provided me with a statement confirming the withdrawal. As co-holders, my parents had free access to the funds. Anger took over me, and I shared the news with my aunt and uncle, who also became enraged. My aunt then had an idea. She began to inform other relatives about my parents' act. It wasn't long before everyone knew. Aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents. Everyone was outraged by the situation. I don't know what excuses my parents gave, but nothing justified what happened. When my parents found me at my aunt and uncle's house, they came yelling. My mother, in a gesture of contempt, threw money at me, calling me ungrateful for spreading the story. My aunt intervened, taking responsibility for disclosing the facts, not me. The money they threw at me was fake, children's play money. My siblings questioned about the real money, and my parents admitted to having used it to pay off credit card debts. I demanded the return of the money that belonged to me, but they refused, claiming rights over it. Fortunately, my financial situation was stable, as my salary had been deposited into a new account, and I was able to save for my future apartment. My aunt and uncle stood firmly against my parents, and even my cousin, who had previously taken care of them, refused to do so again. He warned other young people on social media to avoid my parents, now known as dishonest. Eventually, my parents, unable to withstand the social pressure, proposed a settlement. They couldn't pay everything at once and suggested a payment plan. I knew exactly how much they had stolen from me and demanded the full amount. They tried to negotiate for half, but I did not relent. Reluctantly, they agreed to pay me 200 reais per month for 2 years until the debt was settled. Today, I rarely see my parents, and our communication is minimal. They still blame me for what happened, and their reputation in the family remains shaken. But this does not affect me. They reaped what they sowed. When doing the math, I realized they had stolen 4,800 reais from me, a repugnant and despicable act. It's hard to understand how, after so much effort to achieve independence, one can be betrayed by those they trusted the most. It seems that this person is facing a difficult situation with parents who do not demonstrate the expected behavior, acting reprehensibly. It is admirable to see that their family stood by their side, protecting them from the negative influence of these parents who proved to be unworthy of trust. In the end,